Hi guys. Today we will be discussing links, and this is with regards to HTML and CSS. We are not entering into the JavaScript part yet, although I would admit that a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript forms an entire web page in any website development. But let's start from the scratch and learn the basics first. After mastering these, we could move on to a higher degree or more detailed study of what a web page looks like and how to develop one for yourself. So, let's get cracking. Um, in a typical structure of an HTML web page would look um, like this. Like you start with doc type HTML, which essentially says what kind of document you have. Now, remind you that there are several kinds of HTMLs, like several versions of it. You have HTML3, HTML4, HTML5, you have XHTML, you have XML, then you have versions that run on maybe different platforms which you can specify, like for instance certain older browsers like Internet Explorer and Google Chrome, maybe an old version of it, say from 2002 or so on, would typically run on previous versions of HTML. So you could use HTML4 or XHTML. But we currently at this moment are using HTML5. So it's the same standard for all the platforms that you could possibly use on any web server, any search engine that you currently use is an updated version of HTML5. So we will be writing our document in HTML5, and the structure would mean you can see these lines, right? All these separate tagged versions that you could say possibly hide and maybe expand. So these are elements, certain key elements that you could use, and the code extends within the prospect of that element, meaning that um, these braces, the yellow ones that you see, they define your scope, the scope within which that element will function. So for instance, if you have a piece of code written between these two brackets, then it would be essentially applicable to these elements alone, the UL and OL. Say for instance, we go down slide bit. Here we have the head, the body, and you could also have a footer. I don't have one here, but it's not necessary. So head and body are head, body, and HTML. These three are the primary tags. You need them for any HTML application. So it starts with a head. So what do we have within the head? Within the head, we could have a title which appears on the um, tab, like once you open up the Google tab or the Safari or Microsoft Edge, whichever platform you are using. This is what shows up on the top bar, where you can see clearly the description of the page or what the page is all about. So that essentially is the title. So the title would appear, if I'm not wrong, it would appear somewhere over here. Let's go to our Safari, and yeah, so here we can see the title. So this is the title: Physics Principles and Problems, first edition. So that is one of the titles. um, Here you have a different web page, home page for a florist shop, Kolkata. And yeah, so the title appears right across on the tab on the head of the web page once you are done searching it. So since I don't have a domain at the moment, I'm running it on my laptop, but Usually when you have a domain and when you go to say any particular website that you want to search, for instance, if you want, say, let's do w3schools.in, correct. So if you search this, now, okay, I will continue with, yeah. So what happens is, this defines your title, so that appears on the top bar, on the pages bar, new tab bar, where you are adding on to new tabs and searching for a particular subject. So that this is your title, and that's defined within the head of the page. So now you understand the implication of why we are defining it on the head as opposed to anywhere else. This is the first thing that you come across when you are writing your program. So yeah, then comes the style element. So in the style element, what do? There are several segments to your program. How do you want your program to look, or how do you want your website to look? I'm sorry, pardon my slip of tongue there. It isn't a program to look, it is how you want your web page to look. So I want my web page to look a certain way. So how should it look and feel is defined within the style element. So yeah, the style element starts over here, right? And let's expand these guys, probably it would be easier for you. uh, yeah, so the style element starts right beneath the title within the head, and ends just before we conclude the head. So the style element lies always within the head tag, or head tags, so to speak. There is an opening head tag and a closing head tag. So backslash is always a closing tag. So when you are closing any tag, for example, say the style tag, you will have to write backslash style. Same goes for the head, backslash head. Now, let's go to the body. How is this structured? In this video, I think we'll explore only the structure of the HTML, and from the next video onwards, we'll start on with the coding. So here we have the body. The body starts, yeah. So within the body frame, you define what you want your web page to show. Like if you have content or material that you want to write on your web page, for example, say a paragraph, or you want to inform about something that you know, you want to add on some links, it's all in the content of the body. So within the body, here we have see, you can say that I have attached page here, yeah. The page has a picture. Now every website, in order to make them attractive, you need to add certain pictures, or maybe certain visual representations that might invite your readers and make it more, sort of easy for people to comprehend. So I have added a picture in the beginning that says physics principles and problems, to indicate that we are publishing maybe a physics book, or maybe some sort of document that we want 10 other people to read as a book. People have gone through Kindle and Amazon, I think, Read and apps like that. I am not sure what other apps exist, but if you want to read in a digital platform, you will always come across things that you use more often. So yeah, adding a picture, then the tag or the caption that you want to place right beneath it. Then you have the classic format of a book. About this book, what will you learn? And mind you, there are several tags that I will explain on a later video that you can use to indicate certain subsections of a book. So there are headings like H1, H2, goes on till H6 of different sizes. that you could use to sort of highlight the different subsections that you have in a book. So what will you learn? These are the list tags, by the way. If you use list tags, maybe in organized list or unorganized list, there are two kinds. So for an unorganized list, you will typically not get numericals or numbers. You will get bullet format tabs. So that would explain how do you represent point wise description of a certain subject. You want to be specific, you want to be pointed, so you can use list tabs to sort of represent your data. So why is this important? Why it is important? The measure of statistics, blah blah blah. And now this is a paragraphs tag. What you are writing within the body could be any one of these three tags: the heading tags, the paragraph tags. The paragraph tags usually represent paras, like the content, written documentation of anything, and they are way smaller than any heading tag, because in heading tags you are emphasizing on a particular subject. In the paragraphs you are just explaining the subject. So for instance, here we have a lot smaller paragraph tag, as is expected, and then we have links, like inner links, where you can click and then go to maybe an entirely different website that you might have linked for someone's reference. So yeah, so there is that, because I was explaining about the Hubble telescope, so I had linked it back on there. Now if we don't want to discuss the links over here, maybe in the next video we will. Now a brief introduction of the chapters. Now this is the internal link. This that you see is an external link, the Hubble telescope, which opens in an entirely different tab, and an entirely different website is opened up for you. If you want to link sections within the page that you have already opened up, these are your internal links. So for instance, okay, now you could use this one. What is it called? Even I'm forgetting it. Just a second. Yeah, so that is supposedly, just bear with me for a moment, because I think I had added abbreviation principles, right? What will you learn? Errors, shref, yeah. Yes, so we have an abbreviations tag as well. ABBR, as you can see, title equal to National Aeronautics and Space Research Administration, NASA \ABBR, meaning that NASA is an abbreviated version of National Aeronautics Space Research Administration. Now mind you that the abbreviation will not turn up on its own. Once you hover your mouse on top of this NASA keyword, they will show up as a full form, like it expands itself in a full form of National Aeronautics Space Research Administration. So until and unless you, so it's kind of a mouse over sort of thing happening, mouse over incident, or mouse over, you can't really tell this as a mouse over, what do I call it? Don't really remember what to speak about it, but okay. And to speak the least, this is not an events tab, mind you. So a mouse over event is entirely different. But in this case, what happens is This is a mouse over sort of attachment or mouse over functionality in an HTML, where the abbreviation of NASA expands out once you hover your mouse on top of the writing. So this is not a link of any sort. Don't mistake it for a link. This is not a link. The next one is a link though. Ahref equal to this https en.wikipedia.org wiki/nasa. So this one is a link, and this one does appear in bolder letters, as well as it's kind of highlighted so as to make it understandable that this is actually a link as opposed to anything else. So here it is. So this is a link and this is an abbreviation. So I hope you can understand the difference now. So unless you put your mouse on top of this will not expand out in terms of an abbreviation, but once you hover it, you will see that it's pretty self-explanatory that the writing shows up in the NASA part. So if you open this is also an external link. I showed you this previously, maybe. Oh no, yeah, this is a Wikipedia link. So whatever, moving on, we have self links. So the physics toolkit, now we are getting to links of chapters within the same page. You want to highlight a certain section of your page where you are starting a topic. Now if you click on it, see, you came up with the physics toolkit option and this chapter's beginning. So the physics toolkit is a chapter and we have reached the beginning of it. This is how links are made in most Amazon or Kindle kind of reading platforms where you read online and you don't want to go through the entire book maybe, but a section of the book, but you can still click on a subsection link and sort of reach that chapter, no problem. Now mathematics and physics, that is the section A part 1.1. So one is the physics toolkit chapter and then 101 is the mathematics and physics subsection. So if you click on maybe say representing motion, you get to the next bit. So I'm just explaining you the concept of links here. So this is the links within the chapter. It's not an external link which is showcasing a different kind of website altogether. Now this is a details and summary section. This is very interesting and looks really cool if you are making a web page that you don't want to really disclose, but if people are interested, they might want to learn, they might learn the definitions of it. So if you want to add like small short notes to certain things, or maybe certain footnotes where you might think that the reader will require a bit of details, you can add these. These are summary details. So I'll show this to you on the web page where it is. Yeah. This. So here you have the details and the summary. So the details tag, you can see it's over here, and yeah. So details is an entire tag that contains summary and paragraph tags. So the summary tag is just a synopsis of the subject. Suppose you want to talk about gravity. Now summary tag will have only the gravity section. So it's a tiny sort of heading, so to speak, within the page where you want to detail out the explanation, but it's not maybe necessary everywhere. If you click on it, you might get the explanation, but if someone knows about gravity, they might skip it. So they will see it as a footnote or maybe as a condensed section where once you click on it, it expands out and then you can read the details of it. So the details tag is the outer tag within which is enclosed the summary tag which says gravity. Now what is the definition of a gravity? That you can explain out within this paragraph tag. which I have kind of done over here. So yeah, and now that being said, you also have tables. Now tables are really interesting. You might want to have a table to sort of represent your statistical data, as we have done. So table tag usually contains a table, maybe a caption for the table as to what are you explaining in the table, or what statistical data are you representing. Like for example, relationship between mass and weight could be a table. Relationship between force of gravity and mass could be a table. So yeah, tables are of variety kinds depending on what kind of data you might want to represent. But yeah, so there is a table, there is caption for the table. Then you have three essential tags, that is the tr, the th, the td. These three form the base of a table. Now, what does TR stand for? It is the row. For any table starts with a row, and the TH is for the headings. Now, row 1 has maybe two headings in it. Mass attached to spring G, TH length of the spring in centimeters. Great. So, and then you have representations under these two headings. Now, the first row is only headings, the mass and the length. Now, the second row starts representing data one by one. So, we have TD stands for data, table data, and then you have first row data, second row data. Oh, sorry, I'm really sorry. First column data and second column data. So first column is the mass attached to string, and the second column is length. So 0 is the length, 0 is the mass attached to string, 13.7 represents length. Same goes for the third row. Third row has data of 5 and 14.1. So 5 will get under the mass attached to string, and then 14.1 would be length of the string, and so on. Till when you end the table, there is a closing tr tag, that is the closing row, the last row ending, and then there is backslash table, so you have the table ending. And yeah, so that's pretty much your table. Now, another interesting thing are the list tags. Yeah, these are the list tags. So if you follow closely, I have an OL written over here. Now, there are organized lists and unorganized lists. This is an unorganized list. No, this is an organized list. So what will happen is it will come up as 1, 2, and 3. So the list will be numbered numerically. And in unorganized lists, you write UL instead of OL. Let's see, where can we find? So this is an unorganized list. We have UL, and these come up in bullet points as opposed to sort of the numerical ones. So your data isn't numbered over here, or the facts that you are maybe representing are not numbered. They come up as bullet points, which is way different from an organized list where things come up in numerical format. So it would be 1, 2, 3 blah 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 for the sections or subsections that you're representing. Yes, and yeah, so we end this session over here. In the next session, we are going to learn in more details about the page and how do we design it from the top to bottom. Yeah, thanks for listening, and see you in the next video.